Hello everyone, welcome back to Jahanvi's YouTube channel. I think it's been a long time we have not done any video. So we have completed Unit 1 Origin and Evolution of English Language. Sorry, we have completed Lesson 1 Theories of Origin of Language. If you haven't seen the video, the links will be, you can find the links in the description box. Today we are going to start lesson number 2, Descent of English, Features of Old English and its dialect, and Norman Conquest. So Old English was spoken between 450 to 1150. Think of it as the great grandparent of modern English. It was the language of Beowulf. It's a heroic poem, and the Anglo Saxon Chronicle, a history book. Everyday words like house, mother, and king come directly from Old English. It also had special letters like the in like thorn, thing, and eth, this, and a vowel like cat. So, a dialect is just a regional variety of language, like American versus British English today. So, it is called a dialect. Old English had four dialects: Northumbrian, like it's spoken in North England and Scotland; Mercian in Midlands; and Kentish in Southeast; and West Saxon South. It is very much dominant in writing. Like the word king was signing in West Saxon, but sinning in Mercian. So broadly, we can identify four major dialects in Old English: Northumbrian, Mercian, West Saxon, and Kentish. While the first two dialects were spoken in by Angles and who settled in the region north of the Thames. West Saxon was the dialect of the southeast England, known as West Saxon England, and Kentish was the dialect of Jutes. The early Old English texts were written in Northumbrian. Like if you take Caedmonsheim is the old surviving poem of this dialect, which is a short poem composed between years 1658 and 680 AD. Most of the records, such as charters and runic inscriptions of this dialect, were damaged by the Vikings who attacked the region during the 9th century. Mercian is a huge dialect spoken in almost all parts of England. The two dialects, Northumbrian and Mercian, together called Anglian dialect. One of the surviving texts of Mercian is Old English Martyrology, which is a compilation of 230 stories about the lives of saints. Like Northumbrian, this dialect was also lost actually after the attack of the Vikings. Kentish was spoken in the country of Kent, which was later submerged in the West Saxon dialect. Unfortunately, no text of original Kentish dialect survived. So, of these four dialects, the only dialect that survived the Vikings' invasion is West Saxon. A lot of Old English manuscripts were written in this dialect, which can be found in the poem Beowulf, though the West Saxon dialect almost attained the literary standard. It could not sustain its status due to its effect of the Norman Conquest in 1066. We will discuss this in the last part. Then you will have an idea about Norman Conquest. Let's go for grammar in Old English. So, one of the most fundamental features that distinguish Old English from the modern English is its inflections. So, inflections are nothing but the changes in the word endings according to their grammatical nature, like such as tense, number, gender, case, mood, etc. So, Old English is a language full of inflections. So, inflections are usually of two types: we can categorize like a synthetic and analytic. Synthetic is nothing but language is the one in which the relation of words in a sentence is established primarily by means of inflections. Like if you take for example the sentence Nero inficit Agrippinum in Latin, which means Nero killed Agrippinum. It can also be written by changing the word order like Agrippinum inficit Nero. Like it doesn't without affecting its meaning. So it is because the word ending am in Agrippinum indicates accusative noun and it does not change its meaning based on the altered position in different sentences, and Nero is in nominative case. Nominative case in the sense doer, the doer of the action. So Old English is also like a Latin. It is also a synthetic language. Modern English is analytic since like we find some order of words like first there should be subject, then the order of a sentence subject, verb, and object. So this is called analytic. Synthetic in the sense the most of the language depends on the word endings. So language that makes extensive use of preposition and auxiliary verbs, and it depends upon word order to show other relationships are called analytic language. Synthetic language means it focuses more on the word endings. Let's understand about the noun. You know, noun is a naming word like stone, king. So, in Old English, nouns were more complicated than today, actually. The inflection of the Old English noun indicates distinctions of number, for singular, there were some other endings, for plural, there were other endings. It means that nouns of Old English take different affixes. You know affixes, right? Affixes the words which are attached in the front of the word to add a more meaning of it, or like changes according to the number and case also. So majorly it had four cases. Nominative is nothing but in modern English we say it, we can say it as a subject, so the doer of the action. And accusative means direct object, genitive means possession, and dative means indirect objects. So every noun was classified mainly as masculine, feminine, and neuter. And of course, they are also classified as numbers, singular, and plural. Endings showed the role here actually, because the endings, whatever the endings they a word would have, it would change the whole story. So, as you get it, nominative, subject, accusative, direct object, genitive, possession, dative, indirect object. If we see some examples here, so in nominative case, stand. In accusative, so accusative means, yeah, direct object. It becomes stain. Genitive means possession, so stainess. Dative means stainy. So the endings, with that ending, anyone would identify that in what sense a noun is used. So I know it's very confusing, but this is how the lesson would go on. You just have to remember the main focus of Old English was about word endings. Now, if we go to adjectives, an adjective describes a noun, you know that, like good, big, happy, tall, sad. In Old English, adjectives had to match, it should match the noun. In case of number, gender, like for example, let us take say goda man. So it means, say means the, so the good man. Goda matches man in masculine nominative singular. So man means here you will have double n, which means it belongs to masculine, it belongs to subject, and it is singular. And of course we have strong declension and weak declension. Like strong declensions used when no determine was present, Like determiners, so when there is no determiner, there would be strong declension. If there is a weak declension, then they used when a determiner was present, like the good man. In German still does this, like it exists. So now let us go for pronouns. The personal pronoun in Old English also preserves its inflection forms, like it also have that endings. The Old English personal pronoun, it shows the inflections in terms of all genders. Like it would have first person for first person, second person, third person masculine, it would have third person feminine, it would have third person neuter. Like it would have lot of different endings for each case. So in Old English, it varies their forms according to the first person, second person, and third person. So in addition to the regular singular and plural numbers, the personal pronoun in Old English has dual number. Like we say dual number, it would have. In, actually, in personal pronouns, we say singular and plural. So in the place of plural, in Old English, we used to have dual. That's it. And they were declined according to the grammatical cases. See, if you look at the table, it would have first person, first person, it would have I see. So if anything, you which is in nominative case and which is first person singular, that word ending would have this I and C. In the same way, for second person do, and for third person he. Third person feminine, it would have hio. Now in modern English, it has changed to she. And previously in Old English, third person neuter, it would have hit. So the hit became in modern English it. So in the same way, genitive case, dative case, and accusative case. And it would also have plural forms, same. So the we didn't change. In Old English also, we used to, for first person plural, we would call we, and in the modern English it exactly came. And in dative case, us, gi. So is basically this whole table. If you are preparing for any examination, if you can remember this table, that is well and good. Either you can write simple example, that is also fine, but this would change the marking scheme. If you like, if you remember all these cases, first person, second person, and third person, that would be better. And the next one is the verbs. So a verb is an action word, like run, sing, love. These all are the verbs, these all are the action verbs. So in Old English, verbs had three types. So we have seen in noun, we had nominative case, accusative case, and in the adjectives we had some more cases, and in pronouns we had first person, second person. So in the same way, in verbs we had three types: strong verbs, weak verbs, and preterite present verbs. Like strong verbs means past tense verb, it only would change the vowel. Like for sing, the answer would be sang. What is the past tense of sing? Sang. And for weak verbs, the past tense would end with the d or t endings, like love, loved, teach, taught. So the endings. And preterite present verbs look like past tense but meant for present. Like in Old English, we had Kannanan. So the spelling is Cunnan. In modern English, it had become can. So the prefix has changed the meaning. So A means away, and GE means together. So suffixes created new words, like if any suffix which is end with ERE, that means person who does something. Like larer is nothing but teacher. And if you see ICLUFODE, which means I loved. So I loved. In Old English, I, in the first person case, just now we have seen in the box, I means what? I see. So that's why I see they would use. And for compounds, like for poetic. So we have words for compounds too. Compounds are nothing but self explaining words. In Old English, loved descriptive compounds, often they were poetic. So these words were formed by the combination of two independent words. So they have their own meaning, two independent words having individual meanings. In modern English, words such as let's say basketball. Now basket has its own meaning and ball has its own meaning. Together they are called as compound words. So in the same way, similar pattern can be found in Old English, like Leo Haft. So Leot means light, fate means vessel, and in the same way, same man. So it is sea and man. It is nothing. So it is nothing but sailor, and beer pen. So beer servant, like the cupbearer. So these compound words were wedded, like, and they were often metaphorical and gave Old English literature its own richness. So the mostly the Old English is much complicated, we can say, but it has its own importance too. There were major sound changes in Old English, like fronting and palatalization. So mutation, let's go first concentrate on mutation. Mutation is nothing but a front vowel, like I, J. These are the syllables. They caused the preceding vowel to shift forward. See, for example, if you say mouse, okay, and it is mice. So whenever you are saying mice, so the syllable, the it caused the preceding vowel. What's the vowel? I, to shift mice. So I would, you would pronounce in, like, in front of, it's a front vowel. And palatization of vowels. This chapter we haven't seen. We will see the in phonics chapter what are vowels and palatization. So k, g, sk. These are before front vowels shifted the palatal soundwards, like child with the siled, and breaking of diphthongization. So breaking means short front vowels developed into diphthongs before certain consonant clusters. Like E would shift to AO. Like in the word before, when you pronounce before, so the R consonant here. So he wrote, it became like heart. And in diphthongization, it's like simple vowels became diphthongs in certain context. There were some consonant changes too, like consonants, like loss of H in the cluster, like when you say hiring, okay, and you would say ring, hiring, right? So the H was disappeared while pronouncing. It was silent, you can say. And assimilation means sounds influenced each other in clusters. Like if you say Niman, it is, it changes to Neoman. So Niman means to take. And there were voice shifts too, like some fricatives alternate between voiced and unvoiced depending on position. Like when you say loud, so loud. So the shift was, in modern English we would call that loud. And then we have reduction of unstressed vowels, like final syllables often reduced to E or dropped entirely. Like when you say proto, in Proto Germanic, is, and in old English is became as. So whenever, and as again it became like only S. Like if you take the examples of sound change here, we can see earlier that if the form was siphon, and later in Old English form it became siofan, and now we call it as seven. So the changes from old form to new form. You can see there are many word letters we have, like we don't even stress now, and we have taken it off, and we have added a new letter to it. If you say for horse, the spelling would be horse, but later it became horse, and the endings we had it as horse, HORSE right now. So here is a chart of Old English words. You can see Old English spelling, the pronunciations, and the modern English word. See, earlier we would call it as must, and it must became in modern English mouse. So here the main thing is that you should identify the Old English spellings with modern English meanings. So earlier it would called like this, and now it is called like this. So you can take the screenshot of the whole vocabulary. I have given you some vocabulary. Like in Old English you would call it as stan is nothing but noun, nominative case we have seen in noun section. And this stan is masculine, right? And for feminine it would be sewn, it is feminine. And in modern English it would stan would call as stone, and sun it is feminine and considered as sun. And piff is neuter for woman and wife. So actually in modern English we use different words for different genders, but Old English didn't concentrated on the words. It mostly concentrated on the inflections. Inflections are nothing but the endings. Like the whole point of grammar, tenses, cases was with the endings. If ending changes, the whole word changes, the meaning of it would changes. Like if you add for suppose if you add e to any word, it would change the parts of speech, it would change the case, it would change the gender. So mainly the Old English concentrated on the endings. So here is it, it's just a short topic. Mostly you would get in 4 marks answer. Yeah, it might be an 8 marks answer for English literature, like PG exams. For PG exams, let us go have some look on the Norman Conquest. So who were the Normans? The Normans were people from Normandy. It was a region in the northern of France. So these were the people who were called as Normans. So we have seen in the first chapter the Vikings. Their ancestors were Vikings actually. Normans' ancestors were Vikings who had settled in the France in around 9th century and 10th centuries. Over the time they have adopted the French language, because it's been too long they are staying there. Obviously they would adapted French language, they adapted Christianity, and a mix of Viking and Frankish culture was going on by then. And by 1066 the Normans were famous for being skilled warriors. They were skilled warriors and castle builders. So the story goes on like this. The king dies in January 1066. King Edward the Confessor of England died without children. This created a succession crisis, like who should be the king. So Harold becomes the king. Harold Godwinson, a powerful English noble, was crowned as king. But others claimed that the throne too included like William, Duke of Normandy. So there were two invasions. First, Vikings invaded England. Harold rushed north and defeated them at the Battle of Stamford Bridge. Then William landed in southern England with his Norman army. So the Battle of Hastings happened on October 14th, 1066. Harold's army they were tired from fighting. Uh, the Vikings faced William's fresh troops. The English formed a shield wall, and William's cavalry and archers attacked again and again. So Harold was killed, and William won the battle. So William becomes king on Christmas Day. William was crowned King of England. He is remembered as William the Conqueror now. So, understanding Norman conquest is very much important because then only you can understand the whole story. So, the conquest of the British Isles by William the Conqueror, the Duke Normandy. So, William belongs to British, and Duke Normandy, the northern France of they were Scandinavian Vikings. So, they defeated Harold, the King of England, at the Battle of Hastings on 14th of October, and this is historically known as the Norman Conquest. So, around about 1200 AD, there was a split between England and France. By this time, English changed a lot, as it remained only a spoken language instead of written for over nearly 300 years. After this split, the Old English came back, but with the addition of lot of French words, because there was much influence of French words. So what changed after this battle is William gave the land to these Norman followers. So it was replaced with Anglo-Saxon nobles, and feudalism was introduced, the king at the top, nobles below, peasants at the bottom. So this was the authority level, and French words entered English. So by then there was more of influence of German words, Anglo-Saxon. But now after the Norman conquest, French words started entering the English, like Old English. Knight would become KNIGHT, knight. Like Norman French justice crown code became part of English. The architecture too changed, there were stone churches, culture was changed, England became more connected to Europe now. So the Norman conquest was not just a battle, it was a turning point for in English history. It changed the language because Old English was merged with Norman French, so it became Middle English. So this is not the end of the story, because after Middle English there is a modern English. So it changed the society, it changed the culture, it shaped the England what we know today. So let's just wrap up things. So Old English grammar highly inflected with cases like nominative, accusative, genitive, and it also influenced by genders and numbers. Adjectives means two types: strong declension, weak declension. Pronouns means singular, dual, and plural. And verbs had strong and weak and predate present. Prefixes were there which modified in meaning. Suffixes were there which formed verbs and nouns. There were compounds, self-explaining words, which have independent meaning. There are sound changes, mutation, breaking, and palatization. And there was a vocabulary difference, like stan means stone. And after Norman conquest, Old English merged with had an influence of French words. So William of Normandy defeats Harold at Hastings. He brings feudalism, castles, French words, and this is how the transition happened in Old English. I hope you liked the video. Thank you. Please like, share, and subscribe.